Okay, welcome to our weekly office learning. Good to say this week we're back in the office. Last week, who would have believed it was Yom Tov today, on Thursday. Next Thursday is going to be like Bomer. So unless I can manage to do something from London, I don't imagine I'll be able to get an office session done. Maybe, the truth is I could probably do it from the office in London. Early in the week. So we'll see how that goes. Baruch Hashem, Pesach Sheni next week. It's the Sefirah of Netsach ShbeNetsach today. We have Baruch Hashem big Tzaddikim, the Tolna Rebbe's Yahrzeit. The R Dovid Tolner was last night at a beautiful Tish. A lot of chizuk from the Rebbe about the importance of learning is what we're doing here in the office. The Rebbe said that every other mitzvah you have to, and he quoted this from his Zayda, his alter Zayda Dovid Tolner, who was a son from Rav Mordechai of Chernobyl, who was a son of the Moranim, who was a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. So, this is big yichus all the way back. We had the Tehilim of Dovid Tolner last night. So, Baruch Hashem, we had the Tzaddik helping us with learning today. But the concept is that he said that every other mitzvah you have to prepare for. To get Yishuv Das, to have Yishuv Shalom Bayis for sure. How much preparation you have to prepare every single mitzvah. To make it Shem Chidshah Baruch Hu. Every mitzvah needs some sort of achana, some sort of preparation. Whereas with Torah, the answer for Torah is you just learn. That's the preparation. And the learning itself brings the Yishuv Das. So it's a different way that Torah works than to everything else. The Torah itself brings the Yishuv Das. Whereas with every other mitzvah, you have to prepare for that mitzvah in order to get to that level of Yishuv Das. So, Baruch Hashem, we're going to go weiter in Hilchos Sefirah and Hilchos Yom Tov. But the whole point of Sefirah and Hilchos Yom Tov, of Yom Tov Shavuot, is to get ready for the mitzvah of that day, which once again, there is no mitzvah specifically of Yom Tov Shavuot. Obviously there's Simchat Yom Tov, but there's no real specific mitzvah like Pesach has matzah and Sukkot has sukkah. Hilula Tish Jerusalem. The Yom Tov of Shavuot is Matan Torah Seinu. So receiving the learning, which is what we do every week in this office, is a way of tuning in to the mitzvah of Shavuot, of all these weeks of counting, which is named. The Chag itself is named Shavuot, which is the weeks. It's a process. It's a development. It's a building, just like with a business. It's a process. It takes days, it takes weeks, it can take months. You build a process and you scale and you scale and you scale, and then slowly you start to see the binyan, the building that you've built, this binyan of Torah, this kinyan of Torah, the binyan of Adam, you're building the person. And this is where we're at as we're going through Hilchos Sefirah and Hilchos Shavuot. So, in this case Yom Tov, but we'll throw in a bit specifics of Hilchos Shavuot. So I shared here last week, so we were talking about the Sefirah, the Minhagim of Sefirah, and so Lag BaOmer, which is going to be next week, Thursday night, Friday, which unfortunately coincides the same time as 4 years ago when there was a tremendous tragedy. That's why there's so much rules of getting to Meron. For example, this One Flame Festival that I'm involved with, and Baruch Hashem, we've got Levi Miller now involved, Matziel's son, he's fully engaged in it now, and Uriah, and a bunch of Schlepping Nachas, and all these wonderful talented souls, a DJ, and a whole bunch of more musicians have joined in a Svat band alongside Nissan Black. So we're having this wonderful night. It's not in Meron, it's in Svat, which is next door Meron. Even to get to Svat, you have to have special permission, and the way you get permission is by buying a ticket. So if anyone wants to come to Svat this year, we have tickets. I actually have a bunch of free tickets, which I'm considering how to share them out. Already I have obligations to my son is one of them, and a bunch of people in the team, from the artists and stuff. But I think I will have a few extras, so if anyone's interested in managing just to make it up there and give a few free tickets. It's not too expensive. They put a very big sale price. But with that ticket, you have permission to enter into Svat, and from there it should be easier to get into Meron. But that's all for next week, Lag BaOmer, Thursday night, Friday. I'm actually arriving in the afternoon, so I'm going to come back to R Dovid and dance with Yosef Geduna. But the minhagim of Lag Bomer is already we're seeing that there's celebrations. So we mentioned some celebrate the night, Lag Bomer, some the next night. So obviously this year, with it being Erev Shabbos, so it has to be all on Thursday night, the celebrations as we go into Shabbos. A lot of communities have a minhag to sing by Yochai Shabbos night, so that's something which we'll do, and also obviously the night of Lag Bomer itself. And the other nigunim of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. As we said, the main mitzvah really is to just connect into the light of the Tzaddik on that day. The fact that the Torah Sheba'al Peh had a hemshech, had a continuation, with the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva being mistalik, being passing away. So there was a continuation through those 5 Talmidim we mentioned last time, and one of them specifically was Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, who Hilula, his Yom of passing was Lag Bomer, which marks the end of the Avelis, according to many minhagim, most minhagim. As I said, the Chassidim carry on to Erev Shavuos, but Lag Bomer itself is a day of celebration according to everybody. And therefore, there are many who have haircuts that day, there are many who make weddings on Lag Bomer. There are places where they permit, says in here, Yesh Mekom Shemeturin Ad Rosh Chodesh Iyar, V'lo Ad B'Klau, including Rosh Chodesh itself, V'yom Aleph to Rosh Chodesh B'Tchil Issa, and the person begin on the first day of Rosh Chodesh. V'yom Aleph to Gabala Hu Yom Lamed Gimel. According to the count, the first day of a Gabala, the 37th, the 47th day of Omer, is the 33rd day of the Proto period. Amrinan Ki Miksasa Yom Kukulu. And regarding the day, we say that there's a portion of the day's entire day. Maturin the Isa Listapa Ben. So basically, the point is, it's the third left of the Sfiras Omer. One of the ways, the good gematria to remember Sfiras Omer of Lag Bomer is Leiv Tov. One of the points of being in this world is to have a good heart, work on ourselves. That's part of these Sfiras days. As we said today, is Netsach ShbeNetsach, to work on victory, the eternity of Torah, the eternity of our Avodah and what we're doing, and to be victorious. With the army should be victorious, the soldiers should be victorious. The mission of our people should be victorious. But there's and it's an eternal victory. But there's each day we work on our own personal Avodah as well, our own internal victories, our victories to be consistent, to work, to daven, shalom bayis, to hinuch, all the things we need to work on, we should work on it. So leiv is the heart. The hardest place to work on is the heart level. Really, in Sfarim it says, in Chazal and other Sfarim, Rachmana Libaboy, Hashem wants the heart. So Hashem wants us to give us our heart to Him. So that we really want, boy is rotzen, really get to the level, as Shlomo Katz was saying this week, from beautiful Torah from Shlomo Kalibach, Zatzal, Shlomo Katz was bringing down that we have to really work on what does Hashem want. That's all connected into the heart level, where the place of mokum of rotzen develops, the will develops. Rotzani, the more we develop, there's more people learning Daf Yomi and Makas. Rotzani, the Makas bring out the Rotzani that I really want. So all the challenges we go through, like the beatings of the Makas, it purifies us. And when we're having challenges, Shalom Bayis, challenging Panas, challenging the business, everything we're going through is like another Makkah, getting to the essence of who we are, of Rotzani, that I really want to do what Hashem wants. I really want to do what my wife really needs. And to really tune into that level of Rotzen, that's the Avodah of Leiv Tov, coming to a level of Leiv Tov, gematria of 49. Leiv is 32, the 32 days, and after that, you get to Lag Bomer, the Lag, the 30, the Galenai, you get to that 33rd day of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai's Hilula. Now you've done the real Avodah of all the Midas up until Hod Shebahod, which is next week. Hod is already Tarim B'Sichin, the windows of heaven and Shemayim open up, and then we can really daven in the most intense way that whole week of Hod, beginning Pesach Sheni, beginning next week, Sunday Night Monday, to really work on ourselves, to open up the Shemayim, the heavens, to daven to Hashem. Personally, I'm going to be in London, so I'm going to scream to Hashem to open up the gates in heaven for all the Jews over there and all of Am Yisrael that are still in Golos in the physical sense. They're living in Chutz La'aretz, and they're going through the anti-Semitism outside of Israel, and we're going through it within. We have to cleanse ourselves and daven really strong for Hod, to be a nation that has Hod, that shines forth. And Hod Shebahod is the most intense, polished version of ourselves. That's the Lamed Gimel Yom, 33rd day. And then from then on, it's already, as it says here, the last shlish is already the Hagabala. the preparation for Rosh Hashanah, for Shavuos, which is like a bechina of a Rosh Hashanah. Because really, Rosh Hashanah, what's the connection of Rosh Hashanah and Shavuos? Menachem said those words, Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah, we also blow the shofar. What was the shofar in Shavuos? Shavuos was the shofar of Har Sinai. Har Sinai is like a kol shofar. It says in the Sadia Gom, we read how there's a comparison. What happened at Kabbalas Torah took place, we remember also Rosh Hashanah. The Kedes Yitzchak, and he brings down 10 concepts of remembrance. So there's a big awakening that goes on in Shavuos of Kabbalas Torah, receiving the Torah, this shofar. So this third section of the Shir Omer that we're preparing for this whole coming week, basically from tonight till next week, is the last full week of Sefirah, where we really can polish ourselves. Then it's already into the Avodah of Yesod and Malchus. That's already, we come as with what we've worked on. Yesod is already starting to bring it together in a real way and connect it, his kashrus, to all the different levels, including the Sadik. And then we bring it out into Malchus, which is the Gilui, and the full preparation, revealing ourselves in the full way, building the vessels so we can receive the Torah on Kabbalas Torah on Shavuos, which is the end of the Sefirah. So this is where, on a previous level, what's going on, and that's why there are many who hold that the Yemei Avelis is finished with already, after the Talmidim of Rabbi Kiva have stopped passing away, and the Tikkun of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai Hilula, and the fact that it's already now the last third of the Sefirah, where we've done the main work, and now it's all about preparing for the Kabbalas Torah. This zivug between us and Hashem, between the Torah and Am Yisrael, between heaven and earth. The aidus that goes on when we receive like under the chuppah of Har Sinai, we receive like a yichud, a unification between us and Hashem. And this is a very deep preparation. We have to see it as like Sheva Nakiyim, the 7 weeks of Sefirah, purifying ourselves more and more to get ready for this wedding. So that means we can also have weddings during this time. Returnally Stapabehen, weddings and haircuts are permitted on this day, the 3rd to the 5th of Sivan. So that's even more mekel, obviously, because that's actually the full 3 days before Kabbalas Torah. They're actually called in the Torah Yemei HaGabbalah. Gambi Olam Gimel Maturin. They also made a like Bomer, Kamon Nizboya. So I remember when I did Halacha for my sons, they were all done on like Bomer, pretty much, except for one who was too far off. So we did it, the one who was in the summer, we did it on like Bomer. Baruch Yitzchak. So we can noeg b'chol kihila minhagacha. So everyone's got different minhagim. Everyone should keep to that one minhag that they used to. Lo yishanu lasim k'sad kach misad kach. So people should be doing different things, but the reality is, says the Geras Moshe, in any large metropolitan area that is home to many Jews, different backgrounds and customs, there's no need for everyone to adhere to one custom, because there's no single communal congregation, which is reality nowadays. The Kibbutz Goliath, everyone's doing different minhagim, and within the city of Efrat, or wherever we live, everyone's doing different things. It's a gathering of exiles, so everyone's got different minhagim. So everyone should do what they need to do. One who observes one custom regarding the time of Sefirah, prohibition, is invited to a wedding of one who observes another. Says Geras Moshe, may attend and dance, even if it takes place during the former's prohibited time period. See, we have a nice heter there to join into other people's simchas, even if you have a minhag. In certain cases, it's permissible to change one's custom from 1 year to the next, if necessary. Thus, marriages may be permitted until after Rosh Chodesh Iyar, unlike Bomer, both day and night, from Rosh Chodesh Sivan and on. Halachic authorities should be consulted. So, if you want to make any weddings, you should definitely speak to a rabbi, the timing of everything during this time period. However, only these individuals are permitted to take haircuts before the circumcision. So that's the halacha above. Let's go weiter. So now we're going to learn of Hilchos Bris. Yeah? Sandik. Who tells us Tinek B'Shas Me'ila. The Sandik, one who holds the infant during the circumcision, Ma'al La'avir Ben. The Ma'al and the father of the child, Maturil Istape, B'Yom Shalifnei Mila, may take the haircut on the day before the circumcision. Samach Erev Kodem Halicha Lebeis HaKnesset. Close evening before going to the synagogue. So it says underneath, however, any individual is permitted to take haircuts before the circumcision. Not the assembled guests. If the circumcision take place on the Shabbos, they may also take a haircut on Friday morning. So there are heterim for Simchat of the Mo and the Sandik and the father of the child. Heterim. Lasois Shiduchin, to come engaged to be married. Yes, we should have simchas. Filu basuda, even with the ensuing festival maturin b'chol yomim, during all these days of Sefirah, ach rekiden mochlin asurin. Have a dancing and like probably labeled music is prohibited. Certainly one should not dance for non-mitzvah purposes during the Sefirah period. It is unclear whether dancing for non-mitzvah purposes is permitted even before Rosh Chodesh. Even those who allow haircuts and weddings until that time, Shadzi and the it's permitted to play and hear music during the morning period of Sefirah. Yeah. So right now my wife's, for example, an exercise teacher. So she is allowed to have music during Sefirah because it maintains the beat and it helps the exercise. It's part of the process. During the 3 weeks is also permitted somewhat, but the 9 days for sure not. And I remember my wife trying to teach exercise with no music was very difficult, but she has a talent. She's able to keep the beat anyway. So she manages to still pull it off a timed class. She has a natural beat counting in her head. She grew up in a dancing home. So she's able to pull it off. But there is a heter for those kind of things, for music. And as we said also for keeping a healthy headspace in this time of exile, to have music to generate good energy. It is permitted to practice playing musical instrument if one is doing so for his profession. One may not do so for his own enjoyment. So, Baruch Hashem, next week, Thursday night, we're going to have a lot of music, a lot of festivity. We've got the OneFlameFestival.com. Got a lot of good things going on here in Efrat. We're going to have Yosef Kaduna, Bez Hashem, and the following weeks, people are traveling for business. They'll for sure have a heter after like Bomer to listen to music, get a haircut, shave their beard, do all the things they need to do. And so that's generally the minhag most of us follow. And Baruch Hashem, it's an end to the Avelis for most people. As I said, the Hasidim wait till the Yemei Kabbalah for the complete end of the Avelis. But like Bomer, everyone celebrates. Everyone. Okay. It doesn't mean they have a haircut, everyone, but they celebrate. Okay, let's see. Okay, Yesh. Okay. Okay, another thing. You should try not to work until after counting. So that's a very important point. As we said at the beginning, most mitzvahs need a chana. So part of the chana of counting Sefirah, preparation, is you don't work. You get ready, otherwise it becomes Hezegadas. You start to forget, and you forget the mitzvah, and you don't do the counting. So in order to count, you need to make the avodah of counting important, and you should organize your schedule to count as beginning to the night as possible with a minyan, the chachila, and that itself will be a reminder. I mentioned with Sefirah, we're already more than halfway through today. Now is the second half of Sefirah, so we really need to home in and hold cup and keep all those reminders and all those different tools. And one of them is not to work. Whereas with learning, look, we're working anyway, but we're learning. We're learning, you just open up a safe and you start learning. And that has a kedusha to it that brings Yishuv Das. Below Aleph to Shavuos, on the first night of Shavuos, Machrim is Pala Arvis. So here we are, we've gone through the whole Sefirah, and we have to wait till Ad Seis Chochamim. We delay the marriage present until nightfall. So if you hold Rebbeinu Tam, it's even later. But for us over here, the minyan where we dominate R Dovid, they'll be very careful to make sure it's after the Seis Chochamim. So the Rav will give a shir and extend a little bit, and then we'll make it Marev after nightfall. The reason is because it's Shevet Shabbos is Timimus. It has to be the full Chamishim Yom, the full 50 days that we're counting, and therefore we shouldn't start Marev until we've done the full 49 days. It's the full 7 times 7 weeks. The full 7 Shabbos is Timimus, has to be complete. So we only start Shavuos Marev after nightfall, which is after Seis Chochamim. She'im is palo kodim. If they would pray before nightfall, Yekabel Kedus Yom Tov and Usher in the sanctuary Yom Tov. Present time, Hasamat Mem Tes Yom Yemei Sefirah. They're missing a bit from the 49 days of Sefirah. Torah Omer Shavuot Shabbos Timimus Tiyena. They shall be complete, as it says in the pasuk. So now underneath, there's all these customs in this Gizur Shulchan Aruch who, keep the Avelis. There's 3 customs it brings. So most, I think the Sfardim, does it say which number's which? I don't know if it does. Maybe it does in the notes somewhere. But I think the Sfardim, they have a different time where they begin in the morning. Then there's, according to some Sfardim, then there's Ashkenazim. who begins straight away, and then from Rosh Chodesh Nisan there's a different minhagim. Yeah, but for us, for our purposes, let's just skip that and just say Lag Bomer is the day really where we stop the Avelis of Sefirah, unless you are holding that every zone. Okay, weiter. Hilchos Yom Tov. Okay, so before we get into Hilchos Yom Tov, a big part of Yom Tov is obviously the fact that it's Domer Shabbos, it's similar to Shabbos, and one of the most important halachas is Simchas Yom Tov. That's the nafkamina between Shabbos and Yom Tov. Shabbos has Simcha, it's oneg, but the actual mitzvah Simcha Shabbos is not brought down. It's not a halacha. Halacha Simcha Yom Tov is a halacha, and that has nafkamina called Ochel Nefesh. And Ochel Nefesh gives you a heter to do all kinds of malachas that your Shabbos would not be allowed. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into this whole beautiful experience of being able to make a coffee without having to worry about kli sheni, kli shishi, or other things that we'll see that people are noeg to cook on Yom Tov. Some people make barbecues. I mean, it's all different minhagim, everyone according to their minhag, what they're comfortable with. Some people smoke on Yom Tov, which is a big question. But the concept of Ochel Nefesh and Simchas Yom Tov covers a lot of realities that we are going to learn a little bit about. It's not easy halachas. We'll do the best we can, and being that we're coming up to Parshas Kedoshim and Achrei Mos Kedoshim. Shouldn't skip over the Achrei Mos part, because there's a concept Achrei Mos after you've gone through a certain breaking point, Kedoshim. Then you can become Kedoshim. It's good chizuk. After you've got to a point of breaking on some level, then there's like a rebirth, and then you become holy. Yeah, that's one way of explaining it. There's others. Balaturim has we're not going to get into that now, but the concept of Hilchos Nida and different things. What Achrei Mos Kedoshim means. But the one main point is Kedoshim to you, that we have to try and become a bit more holy, more sanctified. And it doesn't mean in a woohoo way, as Rav Shlomo said. It means in a more focused, intentional way, and tuning into Yiddishkeit, and you become Havdom in a Goyim by being more focused in what Am Yisrael's mission is, becoming more in tune to it, to our purpose, and to the mitzvahs and the kedusha and tahara, the holiness and purity, the status that we get from purification that we go through, so that we can keep mitzvahs in the best way and be close to Hashem in the most real way. So here we are, the laws of Yom Tov. These are all parshas preparing us for this beautiful Yom Tov Shavuos. As in Shabbos, the Torah prohibits engaging in malacha, creative work activity on Yom Tov. The parameters of what constitutes malacha outlined as we already learned in a different simon and in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch and other Sfarim. These guidelines apply to Yom Tov as well, as the definition of malacha is the same for Yom Tov as for Shabbos. And most activity that is prohibited on Shabbos, whether biblically or by decree of the sages, the Chomim, the Rabbonim, is likely prohibited on Yom Tov. Now, in order to learn laws of Yom Tov, it's imperative to be well acquainted with the laws of Shabbos. Like we said, there's a direct comparison between Shabbos and Yom Tov, but what we have to know is where the difference lies. And we also have to make sure we still know Hilchos Shabbos, because most of Hilchos Shabbos is still relevant with Hilchos Yom Tov. One must also bear in mind that the Kitzur was meant to be brief, concise, of Yom Tov is nowhere near exhaustive. These laws are detailed in Shulchan Aruch, Orach Chaim, 495 to 529, a big section of Shulchan Aruch, all about these halachas, in Hilchos Shabbos, Hilchos Yom Tov, you have Netsach Shabbos, Netsach Beitza. In this simon and the following ones, Kitzur focus mainly on the difference between Yom Tov and Shabbos, and on such the light to arise on Yom Tov but not on Shabbos. Under biblical law, there are never two consecutive Yom Tov days. Pesach and Sukkot have only one day of Yom Tov. So really, like we have in Eretz Torah, we only have one day Shavuos, Baruch Hashem. And this year, if I remember right, I think if Tisha B'Av is going to fall out this year, Moshe Shabbos Sunday, so Shavuos is going to be Sunday Night Monday. Another way to remember it, other than the simon we did at the beginning with Pesach, with the Abash, another way to remember it is also with the Sefirah. So if we're going to be counting Malchus, Shabbat Malchus, it's going to be Saturday night, Sunday, so then we know, because Malchus come out every week on Sefirah on Saturday night, Sunday. So we know that the Yom Tov Shavuos is going to be after Malchus ShbeNetsach, the 49th day of Sefirah, which is going to be Sunday night, Monday. Okay, that's Shavuos. So it's only one day this year. And he says here, only one day at the beginning and one day at the end. That's biblically. Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah is only one day each. Is in fact how these festivals are observed in Eretz Yisrael, with the exception of Rosh Hashanah, which is observed as a 2-day festival. In the diaspora and Hilchos Sefirah, have all these festivals observed for an additional day. The observance of 2 days in diaspora stems from a period when the calendar was not fixed. A new month, Rosh Chodesh, was determined by based in Halachic court, based on actual sighting on the moon. Of sighting the day of Rosh Chodesh, based on would send out messages from Yerushalayim to notify the outlying communities which day it was, so they could reckon when to observe Yom Tov. Communities that were too far away to be known for Yom Tov, when the new month would begin to observe 2 days of Yom Tov, since they were not sure which day was actually the 15th of the month. In later times, when a fixed calendar, we know, according to Hilula was established for future generations, the sages decreed that the custom of a second Yom Tov day and thus should remain in place. One's observance of 2 days of Yom Tov depends primarily on this place of residence, rather than the actual location of time of Yom Tov. Since these halachas involve many variables, one who lives in diaspora and is visiting Israel, vice versa, must consult halakhic for it. So if you're saying for you're a Chabadnik, and this is important to know this halacha, if you are Chabad, this minhag, I mean you'd probably know it anyway, but we go like the Rav Shulchan Aruch. I remember learning this when I learned Hilchos Yom Tov Be'in, that it's a big chiddush that he paskins like Kabbalah. He paskins like Panemius, like the Zohar. It's one of the few times you see in Halacha where the Zohar wins out. In the Halacha, what's that? The Balatanya holds from the Zohar that wherever you are is the reality. It's not based on where you own. So you own properties in Chutla, that's your home. And now you're visiting Israel, so you have to keep 2 days. That's how the general communities keep 2 days of Yom Tov, even in Eretz Yisrael. Fine, there's different dinim, exactly what, and you have to ask a rabbi how you keep that second day in Yom in Eretz Yisrael when everyone else is doing malachas v'chilu. We can get into that if we need to. But the main point is that the Chabadniks, they hold according to the Zohar where you are spiritually is the reality. So therefore, if you're in Eretz Yisrael, the spiritual reality is there's only one Yom Tov. So the spiritual reality trumps the halakhic reality of owning an apartment in Chutz, and that being your home. So therefore, Chabadniks, when they come to Eretz Yisrael, they only keep 1 day Yom Tov, even though they own property in Chutz, and that's their main home, which is a big chiddush for many people who don't know the Chabad Minhagim and don't know halachas from the Balatanya. But the Rav Shulchan Aruch paskins Zoy, and it's one of the, as I said a few times, where the Kabbalah wins out because it's based on the Zohar, not based on the Shulchan Aruch. Anyway, so and obviously the opposite around. If you're in Chutz, you keep 2 days, even if you own an Eretz Yisrael. So you lose out the other way around. Come on, Shabbos asala says and just as on Shabbos it's permitted to perform malach even though the hands of an idolater, came be Yom Tov, Shem she'adam mitzvah al Shvisus behem tov b'Shabbos. So just above the command to lay his animal rest on Shabbos. Chacham says mitzvah kiyom tov. So too must command to lay his animal rest on Yom Tov. So if you've got any cows walking around your house, time to rest. No working them on Yom Tov or Shabbos. Okay. Ein bein Yom Tov l'Shabbos, says the Gemara Mishnah all the way back. Summarizing regard, Ein bein, there's no between Yom Tov and Shabbos, Ela Ochel Nefesh Bilvad. This is why we got to this concept we mentioned before, Simchas Yom Tov, which is learned out as Ochel Nefesh Bilvad, which is necessary to provide food for a person, connects to Simchas Yom Tov. Although these malachas may not be performed on Shabbos, they may be performed on Yom Tov, Shinamar, Ach asher yachol l'chol nefesh hu levadu yaseh lechem. No malacha may be done in them, the days of Yom Tov, except for what will be eaten by any person, that alone may be done for you. Dahainu lisha afia shchita bishul. This permit allows for poor malachas directly related to the preparation of food for Yom Tov meals, as malachas of kneading, baking, slaughtering, cooking, v'hotzah, v'avara, v'mutim b'Yom Tov. But the malachas of transfer from domain to domain in the kingdom of fire may be done on Yom Tov. Okay. let's clarify this, what we just read. The except for that would be eaten by any person, may that be alone be done for you. The Shbe'Netsach allowing formula related to the preparation of food, kneading, baking, slaughtering, cooking. But the malach to transfer from domain to domain and kingdom of fire may be done also on Yom Tov. I don't really get the grammar there. So let's try to figure this out underneath. There's going to be explanation. In fact, there's a lot here. So what I'm going to do, we're going to start next week in London. I'm going to try go a bit vital with this for Hilchos Yom Tov, because it's very involved in terms of Ochel Nefesh, allowing certain malachas in preparing food for Simchas Yom Tov. So you have to enjoy the Yom Tov. So there has to be certain malachas you're allowed to do. Remember, Hashem wants us to be b'simcha on Yom Tov. In order to makabel the Torah, we have to have simcha. It doesn't go without simcha. Rav Shlomo said, like you usually think someone who's Kodesh, Shlomo Katz said that someone who's Kodesh is going to be very serious, very ritzani. And that's true. Someone who's holy is generally in a more serious state of mind. But I remember when I was newly married, and what happens when you're newly married, you fall asleep a lot, like at different times, because it's a new reality of being married and having a wife, and so I needed to pass out when I went to go down mincha. So just before, I was a bit early, put my head down and passed out on a table in a shul, and it was in Telstone. I was asleep there in this little side room in the Beis Midrash, and suddenly I wake up and people are starting to come in. I look up, standing in front of me is Rav Eliashiv, Shlom Eliashiv, one of the Gedolei Ador, and I'm all sleeped, with all the marks on your face and feeling all whoa, after Shabbos Shluf and after Chulin and the Trias Ameisim and all the other feelings you're having, and standing next to me is Rav Eliashiv. Now he's a very serious person. Whenever you ever saw pictures of him. But when you see him in his avodas Hashem, he had simcha. He had true simcha. Example was, there's a beautiful video on YouTube where you can watch him for hours sitting and learning Gemara in the middle of the night. Someone videoed him in Misharim learning. The whole time it's with a niggin. So when I woke up and I saw Rav Eliashiv, he was singing a niggin the whole time, the whole way through Mincha, singing a niggin. I found no judgment towards me. He was just there to daven, and he was singing a niggin the whole time. And it's simply dikamatziv. And that's how we have to makabel the Torah. It has to be with a niggin. The Torah has to be learned with a niggin. It has to be with simcha, amitis. Be learning in Tanya. Be learning. Hashem wants us to be simcha, sameach. Be learning in Tanya that when we're learning Torah, that we're rucha dafka. We're joining our spirit to Hashem. Our mind becomes joined with Hashem's will.
Yeah.
This is who we are, Be'etzim. We have to tune into that, and we should be zocheh be'ez Hashem. It's a beautiful, beautiful end of the week, and Shabbos, a beautiful Chana preparation for these special days of Hod, where the Torah and Pesachim, when the windows open up, or in Shemayim for all our tefillas to be makabel, the Tova, the Rotza, and everyone should have Yeshuas. And be'ez Hashem, we should be zocheh to a shleimus to Kabbalas Torah, Leiv Tov, and Mashiach Sekenu. We should be zocheh be'ez Hashem. And all our work and our efforts should be with simcha and with atzlacha. We should see that all the efforts we're making, Hashem should help us achrei mois kadoshim, after feeling broken, to come to the level of kadoshim, of becoming holy. And be'ez Hashem, Emor, then we'll be able to speak next week. Pasha's Emor, bring alive all the chagim, all the energy of Yom Tov. We're going to learn next week much more into the halachas of Ochel Nefesh and Simchas Yom Tov, and so we can prepare in the best way for Shavuos, and we'll cover the Torah b'shleimus, and with Torah we'll have Yeshiva Das, and with Yeshiva Das we'll have clarity, and we'll be able to be successful in everything we're doing. Amen, amen.